The lenses are, yeah. I'm Dave, and there's Tom. And here, play.
Welcome to Retired Time Productions.
If you are a beginning user of Magix Movie Edit Pro 2015 Plus, this tutorial will show you all the steps to make a complete movie. Now, I highly recommend you get the Plus version of Magix Movie Edit Pro 2015. The Plus version has some extra goodies like templates and effects and free software that you don't get with the regular version. I think the Plus version is only offered on Magix.com over the internet. I haven't seen it in stores. Usually they just have the plain version. So that's my recommendation. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and launch Magix Movie Edit Pro 2015 Plus by double-clicking the icon. Now that it's running, we could load an existing project here by pulling down this drop down and picking a previous project. Also, you can choose a movie template by clicking here and picking a movie template from this list. Now, I'm not going to cover movie templates in this beginner tutorial, but you can find more information about them on Magix.com. Or, in this case, we're just going to create a new one. I'm going to keep the automatic date and just type MEP 2015 Plus Practice. Alright, I'm going to click OK. And now a new project is created, and we have Movie Edit Pro 2015 Plus here. That's the program name. And then beside that we have the project name, which I just typed in, with the file extension MVP. Now let's go ahead and save our project just to make sure we have it saved on the hard drive. So I'm going to go up here to the File tab and do Save Project. I believe you could also use the Save icon here. There's our name that we typed in previously, and we'll just go ahead and click Save. And we'll probably want to do that periodically to make sure we don't lose anything that we create. Okay, let's start by bringing some video objects into the arranger down here at the bottom. Now, we want to be in the right mode for the arranger. Now, there's 4 icons right up here for the different modes. The first one is the storyboard mode, and then you have the scene overview mode, and the timeline, and the 4th one is the multicam mode. Multicam mode in 2015 now has the ability to do 4 cameras, so you can have 4 cameras in that. But that's more advanced. I won't get into that right now, and personally I don't use it very much anyway. So we want to be in the timeline mode, and that's this one right here. So I'm going to click that, put us in the timeline mode. Alright, now let's drag in some video objects. Now there's 2 ways you can do that. One way is you can drag the objects from the file browser, or you can get it right here from the media pool, which is underneath the import tab. So let's look at the file browser. This is Windows File Browser. Now I have a bunch of objects in here. 2 of them are camera angles. So I have a main camera and then a close-up camera. I also have some screen captures that I did to show off the software. And then I have 3 tracks with voice overlays. So this is going to be an interesting project. What this actually is objects that I'm going to use to make the box opening video. And you've probably already seen the box opening video for Magix Movie Edit Pro 2015 Plus. But if you haven't, you can see it on my channel. But that's what I'm creating right here. And so this is going to be interesting because it's a beginner video, but I am going to show how to do 2 camera angles and also some voice overlays and screenshots. So that ought to be quite interesting, and I don't think it'll be too hard. It'll still be a beginner video. So let's start by bringing in those video objects. I'm going to do the 2 camera angles. Now I'll bring in one from both both of these windows just to make it interesting. So I'm going to take camera 2 here, just drag it in and put it on track 1. And I'm not going to adjust it. I'm just going to say don't adjust. So I'm going to keep the project resolution and not adjust the project resolution to the video. I'm going to say don't adjust. And then I'm going to bring in camera 1. Well, let's bring camera 1 in from the media pool here under the import tab. So we get back over here, get camera 1. There it is. And we'll just drop that on track 2. Now, interesting thing. You would think that the top track would take precedence over the bottom track. So you'd think, well, I'm looking at the top track right now as I drag the marker. But actually I'm looking at the bottom track. That's the way Magix Movie Edit Pro works. The track that's on the bottom takes precedence over the tracks above it. So what you're viewing right now is the bottom track, and the top track is being covered up by the bottom track, so you can't see it. Even if I highlight it, you still can't see the top track. One way you can see it, though, is if I mute the track underneath it. I'll mute this bottom track. Now you can see the top track. So you can see why I put camera 2 at the top, because this is a camera I'm not going to show very often. I'm just going to show it when I want to show a close-up of what's going on, like a close-up of the box or something like that. Then I'll switch to this camera. And most of the time I'm going to be on the bottom track, showing us talking about the product. Now this brings a question about, where am I going to get the audio from? Well, in this case I don't have, a boom mic or room mic or anything like that. All I have is these two cameras. So what I decided to do is to get the audio from the close-up camera because it's right next to us. And so we'll take the audio from that, and we can add a little audio from the bottom one just for ambiance, some of the sound in the room, the echo or whatever. We can add that in if we want to, but that's just a little caveat. So in order to use these two tracks together, though, we need to synchronize them, and that's what we're going to do next. So to synchronize these two video tracks, we need to use the audio from each one to align them. So let's go ahead and create the audio waveforms for each one. Let's do the top one first. We'll go ahead and left click that and highlight it, and then we'll right click and we'll get this context sensitive menu. Go up to audio functions right here and then click on create waveform. You'll see a progress bar go across the bottom right here as it's creating the waveform. And then you'll see the waveform appear. Now let's do the next track. We'll highlight that one. Go up to audio functions, create waveform, and we'll do that one as well. Okay, now there's a couple of buttons down here, a plus and minus button, and that allows you to zoom in on the vertical part of the arranger. So I'm just going to hit the plus button, and that just makes the tracks a little larger so we can see the audio waveforms. And you can kind of see how we might align them manually. We can just go ahead, and there's a point in here where I clap my hands to get started right there. You can see it in the preview window right here. And it makes a little bit of a sharp sound, and then I say synchronizing. So that's how I usually make my clapboard. So let's zoom in on the clap sound down here so we can try to align the two tracks. We can use this plus button right down here that zooms it in vertically. And now we have it zoomed in. Let's use this key to zoom it horizontally. There's a plus and minus right here. Now let's see if we can see that area where I did it. Okay, the clap sound is right in this area.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
So you can kind of see that spike right there. So you can see the same spike or same pattern up here on this track. So what we need to do is just drag this track over until it aligns with the first one. Till those two spikes are aligned. I'm looking right here. I'll move the marker over. So right there. We can zoom in a little more with the plus key. Yeah, they're looking pretty well lined up. And you can test that by playing the two tracks and see if there's an echo in there. If there's too much of an echo, then it's a little bit out of alignment. Now that sounds really good. So they're lined up just fine. Okay, let's use this double arrow key here to zoom the tracks to the timeline. So I'll click that, and when I do that, you can now see that the video just fits in the timeline. And the reason I did that is I'm just going to go ahead and chop off the end of the video here. I probably don't want to start. I probably want to chop it right where I say okay and get ready to start. Yeah, right in there somewhere. Okay, so to delete a section of the video, what you do is highlight the track, and then there's a razor blade tool right up here. And you can just click that, and you'll see it cuts the track right there. And I'll do the same thing to the bottom track, as we want to trim them so they're the same size. So let's just trim that track as well. Now we can delete that leftover section by just pressing the delete key on the keyboard, or you can right click on it and then just go ahead and delete object like that. I'm going to press the delete key on the keyboard for the next one. So that's both ways you can do it. Now, a little trick. Say we want to move these two objects over to the side here. Now I could just drag one at a time like this, and then bring the other over. But there's another way. Say they were both right here like that. I wanted to bring them to the beginning of the timeline. What you can do is hit this. There's some buttons up here, and these are mouse mode buttons. This is for just like a individual or object mouse mode, and this is for the whole track mouse mode, and this is for multiple tracks. So what I'm going to do is click on multiple track mouse mode. We were on just a single object mouse mode. Now I can highlight just one of the tracks and it'll drag all of them together. See that? So it moved all of them. And if I want to go back to just moving one, I just click the object there. Or if I had more than one object on a track, I could hit the track mouse mode and move all the objects on that one track at the same time. Alright, now let's go down here and hit our double cursor again, make it fit the timeline. And there we go. So now the two tracks are synchronized. Now I just want to show you another way to align these two tracks together. What you can do is, if they have the same audio in them, you can actually select both tracks. I just left clicked and drew a marquee around both tracks, little box there. Selected both of them. Now what you can do is right click on the top track here, go to audio functions, and go down to where it says align other audio objects with this track. And then if you do that, presto, they're now aligned. Now here's something you might want to know. It's not really necessary for beginners, but it might come in handy someday, and that's that the timeline view is actually a tabbed view. And there's a plus button right here, and you can click on that, and when you do that you can add an extra tab. And this gives you another workspace on the timeline where you can do some editing or practice with effects without disturbing your original video. And if you don't need it anymore, you can just right click and do remove movie from project and delete movie, and then it's gone. Now the reason I showed you that is you can also use it to import another project. The way you do that is you go up to File and then Open, and then you can pick another project. So I'll go ahead and pick the box opening right here and open that project, and it says you can close the current project or add a new project. Well, I'm going to add a new project, and it'll put it on one of those tabs. Okay, so now it's on this tab right here, and this is the other one that we were working on, the original one. Now if I want to switch these tabs around, I can right click on a tab, and then you can do sort films, and we can move this one to last position like that. Now we've got the movie that we're working on right here, and the one I just loaded is on the second tab that way. So that works out pretty good. Now you can use this arrow key right here to sort your projects like I did before, or you can choose one of the movies from right here, one of the tabs. So that's what that arrow does. Now another thing that you might use, and this would probably be used more often, there's actually a slider down here at the bottom, and you can grab the edge of it to shrink or magnify your tracks, your project like that, which is basically the same thing as this horizontal zoom over here on these two buttons, plus and minus. But you can also, if you're zoomed out, say you're zoomed way out like that, you can also grab the middle of this slider and move around in the movie like that. Okay, now on this second tab here, I've opened up the box opening project, which is really what ours will look like when we get done. So this is the finished product. This is our goal, to make it look like this. So what I have here is we start out with introducing ourselves. That's this movie segment. And then I split the video because there's a section I wanted to cut out, and made a little fade right here, and I'll show you how to do that. And then John starts opening the box, and then we have a splice where he shows the product. Then we go to a close-up of the product, and that's from our second camera, which is up top here. We were looking at the bottom camera right here. And then we switch to an insert where I took a screen capture of the product in action, and it has a voice overlay underneath it, which is just audio right here. And I've cut some sections of that out to shorten it up a little bit. Then the next thing we go to is bringing out the second product and showing a close-up of that, and then another insert where we have a screenshot of operating the product. So we just repeated the sequence twice. And then the third sequence is we bring out the third product, and this time we don't show a close-up or a screenshot. We just set it down on the desk and conclude the video. So that's what our goal is, and we'll be making some of these splices, and I'll just show you how to do it. I'll show you the first few, and then it just basically repeats. So you'll get the idea when I do it. So let's switch back to our movie. The first thing we're going to do is splice it right about here where I hand the box over to John. Well, let's just go ahead and save our project to make sure we protect all the changes we just made. So we'll just do save project, and that's done. So we're safe. Now, you probably won't see me using this slider down at the bottom too much, because I like to move my marker and then zoom around it. Like say I want to splice it right here where I hand the box over to John. What I'll do is I'll put the marker right at that section, and then I'll just hit this plus key over here in the bottom right hand corner, and you'll notice it zooms around the marker, kind of keeps the marker in view. and you can use the minus key to reduce it back down. Okay, so that's the section we want to be in. Now we can play it and listen to the audio.
In this box, we think, but we're going to do a box opening to find out. Okay, John, take it away.
Okay, so I'm going to remove the part where I hand it over to John, where I say okay.
Okay, John.
So I'm going to make a splice. Actually going to go ahead and trim it right there, cut it. So I'm going to use my razor blade tool like this and split. Okay, so now I've split both of these. Both tracks have been split. And I also want to mention that I have the magnet highlighted right here, and that's my snap to grid, so that if I move some of the tracks, when I bring them back, they'll snap right to the end of the other one instead of, you know, overlaying it. It just butts up against it and snaps to it that way. So that's an important feature. If you overlay it like this, you'll cause a fade, which we're going to use in a little bit. Okay, now let's move ahead to the next section.
Okay, John, take it away. Very exciting moment.
Actually, we could just leave that out. I think that's what I did. And I just go right here, because I have this part where it says, I say, we're going to find out, and then we'll go to this.
Very exciting moment here.
And so I'm going to do my splice there. Now I don't want either one of the tracks highlighted, so I can just make the cut on both of them at the same time. Click the arrow, split again, and now I can remove this section by just highlighting it and pressing the delete key on the keyboard. Now, because I have this selected right here, my mouse mode will move all of the tracks at once. Let's put my marker over here. But when I grab it, all of the tracks move at one time. Okay, now let's go ahead and make a little fade there too. We'll just go ahead and cross it over, so when we play it, we get a transition. Did you see that? I could make that window a little bigger, I don't know. But you can grab these and stretch them like this and make your window a little longer. And then I could reduce my track size down a little too, so you can still see both tracks. And maybe right there. You can play around with it yourself and just see what's most comfortable for you, but there you have it. And now we have that little fade in, or transition, like that. Okay, let's just go ahead and save that. You notice I go ahead and save my project every so often just to make sure that I have that there. Now there are some undo and redo keys here. Like if I was to undo what I just did, I could do this, just keep clicking that, and eventually it would undo all of my changes back to where, you see? And now I can go forward with the redo. And there we're back. But if for some reason the program locked up or something like that, that sometimes happens, not very often, but if it does, you can go back and just reload it because you've saved it. So that's important to know. Okay, let's move on to the next splice. Now if we go back to the finished movie, you can see I've made a couple of cuts right here and removed some material, and that happens right about in this section. So you can see there, I basically removed this. So after I say we're supposed to get 3 products, what have we got in there? I've removed some material. So if we go back to this one, let me shrink this down a little bit again. There we go. And we'll play it.
They're supposed to come with some extra products. They take a real deal. So for like $59, you actually are supposed to get 3 products. So what do we got in there?
Okay. So what do we got in there? And I make another cut right there, and then I go forward some more.
Tell them about it. Magix Movie Edit Pro 2015 plus. Yeah, I always say Magix Movie Edit Pro 20. Tell them about it. Magix Movie Edit Pro 2015 plus.
So what I'm doing is remove the part where I gave him some direction and told him to tell about it. So I can just remove that section. Take that out. And then slide this over. And then we'll move forward.
Magix Movie Edit Pro 2015 plus. Yeah, I always say always get the plus version. This one does support 64-bit natively for the first time. And we'll see how that works. Yeah, I always say get the plus version.
So I wanted to remove the part where I first talked about getting the plus version, because I'm going to cover that right after he talks. So if we get right here, so after he says plus, I've just cut it there. Again, I don't want to have that top one highlighted because I don't want to just cut that one. I want to cut them both. So there we go. And then he's going to start to talk.
This one does support 64-bit.
So I want to get that part where he talks about it supporting 64-bit. And then I'll just remove this section. And move these in. And these all slide together, like I said, because I have the multi-track mouse mode on right here. If you just want to move one object, it'd be this arrow. If you want to move all the objects on one track, it'd be this one. All objects on multiple tracks would be the one I'm on right now. Okay, now we're going to move along. So you can see we've got it spliced similar to what this one looks like. There's the 2 splices we just made. You can see that on the finished product. And we make another splice up here where we're going to do the close-up.
Directly from Magix, and it'll say plus right on there. So it's going to say plus right on the front.
Okay, so if we go back to the other one and we move ahead, I'm going to use the slider now. I'm going to move ahead here. Now where was that?
From Magix, and it'll say plus right on there.
Okay, now this is where I start reaching for the close-up camera. I don't want that to be in there, so I'm going to cut it right there again. And then you can see me reaching for the camera, and I'm talking about it right there. So where do I start talking?
So it's going to say plus right on the front of the box.
So that's a little section I'm going to remove, because we don't need the part where I'm reaching for the camera. And then we can move this back. So then the whole thing will look like.
It'll say plus right on there. So it's going to say plus.
Now, why didn't it show the close-up view? Well, that's because it's still showing this bottom track. So what we want to do is go ahead and we're going to go ahead and turn the video down on this bottom track to reveal the top track, which is the close-up. We're going to do that next. So now we're going to make another splice, and we're going to show the close-up camera. So we got to find the place where we want to make the splice. Now one way we can do it is we can hit the mute button right here on this bottom track, and that'll reveal the top track. And now we can see the box and judge about where we want to make the splice. But we definitely want to do it back here before it disappears. But let's just listen to the sound and see. Maybe that'll tell us.
Maybe up to $80, but maybe up to $80, but.
So we probably want to.
So it's somewhere in that range, maybe up to.
So I'm going to say it's somewhere in that range, because I don't know. It might be up to $80, but I don't know. So I'm going to cut that part out right there.
Maybe up to $80.
All right, so I'm going to Do a splice there. Split. Alright, now what we're going to do next is I'm going to unmute this track. And what I'm going to do is grab this handle right here, which is the video handle. This is actually the audio handle down here at the bottom for the audio. So you can adjust the audio level there, like this, and slide it up and down. I like this new slider that they added to this version. It's nice and big and easy to see. It didn't used to pop up like this before. You had to deal with looking at this tiny slider. Okay, but we're going to work with the video slider. So I'm going to take the video level down all the way, like that. Now when we play it,
So it's going to say plus right on the front of the
you can
box,
see that
right in that
the
area.
video underneath is revealed, or the video on top actually.
Get the extra goodies. And it doesn't cost much more.
Okay, but you can see this is kind of dark. So what we can do there is go up to Effects right here, and right now I'm going to go to Video Effects, Brightness Contrast, and at this point I can adjust this gamma and just bring the brightness up. Another thing I could do is change the contrast like that, but you can just adjust it to where you feel you want it. Now if you get it all messed up where you think you can't get it undone, you can just hit this double arrow right here and it'll put it back to default so you can start again. So if we run the gamma up, say to 40, and then the brightness up just a little bit. Now let's take the contrast down instead. I think the contrast would be better, like that. So we can see the plus right here on the box. Alright, now let's go forward.
So it's going to say plus right on the front of the box, right in that area.
Okay, so that's how you use that effect. Now let's go down and do the lens correction. Now you'll see in here that the whole thing looks like it's got a fisheye effect to it. You can see it back here in the windows. You can take this lens effect, which is under Effects and Video Effects. So Effects tab, Video Effects, Lens Correction. Just take this lens effect and you can just adjust it a little to get rid of some of that skew. And there's your finished.
Plus right on the front of the box, right
Like that.
in that area. It doesn't have that.
Okay, so next we're probably going to work on putting in the insert for the screenshot. So now we should probably save our project again because we've done a lot of work. So let's just go ahead and save it. And I think Magix does make some backups too, periodically, but I still go ahead and save it at different intervals. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to do the screenshot of the product. So let's see where we want to put that in.
Maybe up to $80, but there it is right there. Okay, what's next in the box?
Alright,
Okay, what's next in the box? Okay, what's next in the box?
that's where I probably want to insert it between these 2 points. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it right here and delete these points. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and slide this out of the way. Give me enough room here. And I might reduce the track view a little bit here. Let's go down like that because I'm going to slide it right in here somewhere. Okay, let's go back to our File tab. We could go to the media pool and get our screenshot out of here. So that would be this one, MEP video. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that. I've already named them. Just pull that down. We'll see if that's it. I'm going to say don't adjust. See, we need a little more room there. That's why I didn't try to stick it in that hole right away. Okay, now let's just, I'm going to move this over here a little bit. We're going to have to do some editing on it anyway. Alright. And this is the actual video. So now let's get out of this multi-track mode and go to single track mouse mode, or actually single object mouse mode. Now you can see what I've got there. I'm showing Magix Movie Edit Pro. And then the next thing we need is the audio overlay for it. And I've got that here, Map Audio. Now this is actually just some video that I took with my camera. So we want to extract the audio from it. So let's go ahead, we'll just go ahead and create the audio waveform. I right clicked on it, went to Audio Functions and Create Waveform. And then after the waveform is created, we can just go ahead and go up here. Now there's two icons right here. One is the link and the other is the unlink. So you can connect two objects together or associate them together with the link button, or you can split them apart. And what I want to do is have this video highlighted, and then I'm going to hit the unlink button here, and that separates the video from the audio. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and delete the video section by pressing the delete key on my keyboard. So I've got the video, the upper one, selected. Going to go ahead and delete it. Audio is green. Okay. Now let's give it some more room here. I'm going to go back in multi-track mouse mode and move these out of the way. And now back to single object mouse mode. And I can bring my audio up in there like that. Okay, now let's zoom in again vertically, and you can see the audio. Now I can see right away, I've got this highlighted, I can see right away I need to chop off some here.
So here's a closer look.
And just take off this beginning piece and slide that in. And let's see what we got down here at the end. All right.
So, okay, what's next in the box?
So you can see that.
So, okay, what's next in the box?
So I don't need that what's next in the box.
If you get the plus version.
So I can chop it off right there because I don't need what's next in the box. So I'll just chop that audio off like that. I'm going to slide it here and just chop off the beginning of this one so they're the same length. And that's just a judgment call. You can do it however you want it. Okay, and so there's my overlay, voice overlay right here, and there's my video. And if I play it,
so here's a closer look at Map 2015 Plus. They've got a more enhanced interface. It's easier to see now. The timeline's down here, and here's the toolbar. Icons are bigger.
So now you can see those two are together now. And if I wanted to group these together, I could hit this link button right here. So I could select them both. I'll just draw a marquee around them. Let's see, like that. Now they're selected. And then I could just hit this link button here. Now, doesn't matter if I'm in multi-track mouse mode or not. When I move one, the other moves with it. They're stuck together now. So that's just how you can do that. And then we can go back to multi-track mouse mode and just move this back into position. And there's our splice. And you can probably see, if I go back to the original one, you can see right here, all of this right here is what we just did. And then I've got a few other pieces in here that we can also add. Now we're going to move in the other two screenshots, which was the lens correction and the multicam and volume slider. So again, I'm going to have to make some room. I'm in multi-track mouse mode. Let's just move this out of the way again. Move it way down here out of the way. Now I can use this to get back, see? Use the slider at the bottom. Alright, let's bring in lens correction right here. I'm going to say don't adjust. Still got my magnet on, so it's snapping to grid. Now I'm going to do the multicam and volume slider. And don't adjust. and hopefully that didn't overlap over the other one, and it didn't, so that's good. Alright, now we want to bring in our audio, which is right here where it says lens correction and multicam. We bring in that. It's really, like I said, just video off my camera with audio, but I'm going to put that in. We'll do the same thing as before, where we unlink the video from the audio like that, delete the video with the delete key on the keyboard, bring up the audio. Okay, I've got to be back in single object mouse mode. Bring up the audio and right click and create waveform. And there it is. And this audio covers both of these video clips. So again, we want to go in and just trim the audio. Let's magnify this a little bit vertically. Alright, we'll just go ahead and trim the audio. So
here's a section.
So it starts out with, so here's a section. And we're not going to trim the top one. We're just trimming the bottom one, the audio. And there we go. Now, let's trim off the end of it that we don't need anymore. So that looks pretty good, and then we can just go ahead and chop off the end over here. Pressing the delete key on the keyboard, using my slider to move over, go back to multi-track mouse mode and bring everything back. Okay, so basically I'm just going to be repeating that process of editing the original video. Then I go to the secondary cam and then back to a screenshot with the voiceover. I'm just going to repeat that again for the second product and then finish off the movie. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to do that now, and then I'll get back to you and show you what I've got. Okay, I'm going to show you something kind of handy that I think the beginner should need to know, and this may be something that you won't hear anywhere else. But there are some keys on the keyboard, and I don't use many shortcut keys, but these are important keys. And if you look at the keyboard here, they are J, K, and L, and of course space. And what I'm going to show you is, if you look at the screen, I'm going to put this on an insert in the video so you can see the keys at the same time. But when I press the L key, it will move the transport, or the marker will start to move forward. I've got to highlight the video first. Okay, here we go.
So here's what that looks like. This is the Music Maker Soundtrack Edition box, and you can kind of see it's got a timeline too for your audio down here.
Okay, now when I press the K key, it stopped at the current position. You see, the space bar won't do that. If you press the space bar right here, the marker will move forward, and then when you press it again, the marker returns to its previous position, returns to where it started. The K key will stop it at the current position. In addition to that, you can reverse with the J key, and if you hit it more than once, it'll go faster. And then you can play again with the L key.
Edition box, and you can kind of see it's got a timeline too for your audio down here.
Stopped at current position with the K key. Reverse with the J key. It's going back now. Stop it with the K key. Play it again.
Soundtrack Edition box, and you can kind of see it's got a timeline too for your audio down.
And you can find the exact place where you want to make your splice by just running these keys, stopping, playing, stopping, reversing, and you can control it right from there. So I have gone ahead and put in basically the same thing we did on the first product, where we talk about the product, show the close-up, do the screenshot with the voiceover, and then go back to the third product and end the video. So if you look now at the original one, you see they're very close to the same, the way they look. So you should have the skills to do this now. But there is one thing that's different. If you look at the original, and you'll see there's a title right here. If I click on that, put my marker over here, you'll see there's a title on the screen. And that's what we need to do next, is put in the title. So I'll just go ahead and show you how that's done. Now this title here looks like that. I'll just go ahead and copy that text, and we'll use it to make the title on the other one. Okay, let's go back to ours. We'll shrink this a little bit. Now we want to put the title in right here at the beginning. So what you do is go to the title tab up here, right here, and go to, I usually just go to standard title so that I can drag one in. You can also create one here under general, but I'm just going to go to standard. They have some templates here. I like the large titles. I'll just grab that and drag it down. I'm just holding the left mouse button while I drag it, just holding that button. When I get it down there, I'll just let go of the left button on the mouse, and there it is. And then we can click on it, highlight it, and I'm just going to insert the text that I used on the other one, and I'll hit the check mark here to accept it, and there it is. There's your title. Now at this point you can go back to the general tab, or the general category right here, and actually edit the color. Like if you wanted a different color, I could go with yellow, like that. You can go pick italic or non-italic, bold or non-bold. This is bold, that's not bold. And then they have sort of a shadow effect here you can pick. You can also go into advanced and adjust the shadow manually. Like you can make the shadow wider vertically, horizontally. You can pick the color of the shadow. You can also do the same for the outline, change that, do various things to it. You can change the background. Instead of black background, you could have white. Various things you can do. And then when you're done, you can click OK. There's also a 3D button here, which I don't use very often, but you can use 3D, which just makes the text look a little more three-dimensional. So that's how you get a title, and it's very simple. And then for the length of the title, let me zoom in here a little bit horizontally with the plus key. Now you can make the title last longer by just putting the mouse over the end of it, and where you see these marks right there, you just drag it to the length you want. I'm going to put it right at the end of the transition, so that way.
2014, but we have the but we're going to do a box opening to find out. Very exciting moment here.
So you can see as it goes through the transition, the title also ends. So you can also fade the title a little bit by grabbing this handle and put a fade on it, so it kind of fades out
We're going to do a box opening to find out.
like that, which is kind of handy. In fact, you can fade any video by grabbing the handle. There's little handles here. That's audio, so you could fade the audio doing the same thing. Actually, that was video, but you can do the audio as well. The audio also has fade handles where you can kind of make it fade out like this. So there's handles on all of these things that can be used. But that's how you put the title in. Now if you look at my original video that I made with the box opening, you'll see that I have my own custom made intro going on right here.
Welcome to retired.
So I made that intro myself. Me and John made it actually. And it's beyond the beginner level. It's kind of a fancy thing that we created just for us. But you can use the intros that come with Magix, and they're pretty good. And a beginner can definitely do that. So I'm going to show you some things you can do. Okay, let's give us a little room here. I'm in multi-track mouse mode. I'm just going to move the movie over a little bit, give us just a little room. Alright. Now, one thing you can do is just under the titles section, this titles tab here, they have a thing called captions. And you can come in here and pick one of these pre-made captions. For example, suppose I picked waves here. And you can just put waves anywhere you want it. I'm going to put it right here. Alright. And when I start the movie, that'll fly in like that. Now I can actually move this around here. Let's actually put it so it's right at the beginning of the movie, right there. Now when we play it, you can see this fly in.
This is a little ahead of time.
And you can edit these and put what you want in there. Like I could put my channel thing in here, my channel name. Retired Time Productions, right there. And when I'm happy with it, just hit the check mark. Okay, and now when you play it, it fills it in. So that's one thing. See how it flies in, puts the name in there, and draws in the little highlights. So I don't know if you could hear what I said, but it draws the highlights in. That's one thing you can do. And then if you want to get a little fancier, you can go to effects right here. And if you go under design elements, so effects tab, come down to design elements, go to intros and outros, they have a whole bunch of templates here for your own intros and outros. So you can go through here and pick the ones you want. I was just going to give a demo with the stars one, so I'm going to drag the stars one down. Now you have to put this on an object. You can't put it in an empty space like you could with a caption. So I'm going to put it on the first object in the track here. And it gives me a little message here about multiple objects and stuff, but I usually just close that, and it works anyway. So now if we go and look at what's underneath, I'm going to scroll down here, you can see where it put it right here. So I'm going to scroll back. Now if we play it, you can see stars flying in, got clouds, fancy music, and then right near the end there's a title here. And you can also edit that by double clicking this small item right here. Sometimes you have to hunt around and find out where the title is in the objects for the intro, but eventually you find it, double click on it, and then see, it'd be easy for me to just change production here to productions, and then I could put retired time in front of it, and I'd have my channel name. So I could just do that. So now the whole shebang will look like this. And then it goes to our... So then we've got both things going on there. So that's something you can do to enhance your intros. You can also add an outro in the same manner. I'll just shrink it down here. So if we want to put an outro at the end here, what I could do is again go back to the effects and pick the outro for the stars, which was this one right here. And I'm just going to put that on this object. And you can see it put the 2 or 3 objects, I guess it is. And then when we play it, it will look like this.
Do you have any further comments, John?
No, we'll get to that in a later video.
And you can see the scrolling text going up the window there. And then and you can fill that scrolling text in If you go in there, you can change it, see? You can edit that to be whatever you want. Put your name in there for the producer and stuff like that. You can also edit the final ending. Let me go back to that. Just play that again.
Comments, John?
No, we'll get to
Oh, I
that
forgot to
later.
hit the check mark here. But
See you on the tube, and don't forget to subscribe. Any comments?
okay, right there. You see where it says the end? You can also change that. So I could put thanks for watching there or something. Like that. And then hit the check mark to save it. So now it's got thanks for watching right down. And you can move it around too. Like if it's not centered right, you can move it around where you want it. And that's it. So now when I play it,
Do you have any further comments, John?
No, we'll get to that in a later video.
Just see you on the tube, and don't forget to subscribe. Any comments you want, just put them under the video, and we'll catch you later.
so there you go. That's all there is to it. And you got a nice beginning and end. And you didn't have to go to much work. Okay, let's talk about the volume levels of the music or of your voice or of the movie content itself. So I'm going to go scroll back up here, and I think we better move this whole business back over. Make sure we multi-track mouse mode. Move the entire arrangement back to the beginning. Right there. So we're all lined up. Go back to here. Zoom out. And let's save the project since we've done all that work. Alright, now we're ready to look at the volume levels. Now, as far as changing the volume levels of a single object, like a single audio object, you can just grab the slider right here, right click on it. Actually, it's left click on it. Left click on it and you can move the slider up and down. Now if you put it on 0 right here, that doesn't mean that there's no volume. It's not going to be silent right there. 0 is just like the center position. And then as you go below 0, it gets quieter and quieter. And then when you're down here like minus 28 dB or something, when you finally get down to the bottom, it's off. So it's only off when you're all the way down. 0 is normal. And then if you go above 0, that increases the loudness. So normally you would just be on 0, and then you can adjust it from there to your liking. That's a single object. Okay, let's make it large. If you have a video clip that has audio in it, in other words, it's a video and audio object combined, sorry. You have two handles. One's for the video, as I showed you before. You can change the video level, whether that video is going to show up or not. The handle down at the bottom is actually for the audio. Like if I go to this one, it brings up the audio. And the top one is for the video. So that's all those do. So if I wanted to change just the audio of this movie clip, this one that I've got highlighted, I would change this slider. Okay. Well, you might ask, what if you want to change the whole track? Change everything in the whole track. Well, if you want to do that, go to the mixer. The mixer is up here in the corner, right here. Click that. And let me bring this mixer into the middle here where you can see it. Okay, so when we're playing our movie, you can see the volume changing right here. And then we have
Exciting moment here.
the audio coming in for the two other tracks. So let me stop it. So you can see the audio coming in for the first two tracks, track 1 and track 2. So you can adjust the entire tracks by just moving the track slider up and down right here. This is kind of like the mixer panel that a band would use, or like a recording studio would use. They just adjust the entire track. In some case that would be the track for one instrument. In this case it would be for voices or music. But as it's going, you can listen. And then when it gets to the audio section,
In this box, we think, but we're going to do a box opening to find out. Very exciting moment here.
see, now silence them. I can bring it up a little bit. Let's bring up track 1.
Oh, I got some tape on your fingers there.
So I could just use track 1. Put it
So
on.
for like $59,
And now
you actually get, we're supposed to get 3
throwing in a
bottles.
little bit
What
of
do we got
track
in
2,
Magix Movie Edit Pro
which
2015
is
Plus.
the main
This
camera.
one does support 64-bit for
Just for a little room ambience there, or ambience.
see how that works.
So I've got a little
Yeah,
of
I would
both.
say get the plus version
Mostly
because
I
if you
have
don't get
the
plus version,
camera
you
that's
don't
on
get
the table and a
extra
little bit of the
goodies like
room.
the extra transitions and
Because the camera that's on the table here, the small close-up camera, has the closest audio, sounds the best close up to where we're talking. And then the one that's further away, the camcorder, which is further away, we can use that just to add a little like echo or room ambience in right there, just a little bit of that.
in this box, we think, but we're
And because they're synchronized, they both blend in together just fine. So the synchronization was done in the beginning of this tutorial. So that's how you do that. Oh yeah, and you can also adjust the master volume here for the whole production right there. So if it isn't loud enough, you can adjust it right here and master it right there to the volume that you want. I'm just going to leave it on 0. So there we go. Now if you wanted to add effects, and this is a little bit beyond beginner, but say I wanted to add some effects to track 1, you could hit this FX button right here and bring up the effects, the audio effects rack right there. And then they have like a multi-band equalizer here that you can turn on and adjust these different frequency ranges. And then they have reverb. You can add echo right in here. And they have a compressor. If some of the audio is too loud at one point and too soft at one point, you can use compression to kind of equalize it. So there's different things you can do in here, but it's a little bit above beginner level. But play around with it and see what, it's just kind of fun to see what it does. And then I can turn it back off too if I want to. But that's all there is to it. So here's a little bonus for you. It may be a little bit above beginner level, but you might be able to get it mastered. And that's if you want to have like one picture inlaid on top of another, sort of a picture-in-picture, like I did with the close-up of the keyboard earlier in this tutorial. I showed you how you could use the JKL key, and I had that inserted into the other video. Well, the way you do that is you have two videos like we have right here, one on top of the other. And you just take the bottom one right here and go into Effects, go to the Effects tab, and then go to Size and Position right here. And as long as that bottom track is highlighted like that, you can go up here into the preview window, Size and Position, and grab it and shrink it down. Like that. So now you see the highlight change there. That's not good. So we want to hit the double arrow to make sure I haven't changed the upper one. Double arrow to make sure I cancel anything. Let's go back to the bottom one. Alright, now we're back to the bottom one. And say I put that window, say, right there. Alright, now when I play the movie.
So here's what that looks like. This is the Music Maker Soundtrack Edition box, and you can kind of see it's got a timeline too for your
So you can see both movies playing at once. You can see the small version of this bottom track playing in that corner, and then the other one underneath it. you should probably want to know how to go side by side as well, so I'll do that. So I'll put this one right here and make sure it's about half as big as the screen, maybe a little less. And now I'll go to the top one, still using size and position. I can shrink the top one down so it's about half of the screen and put it there. And now we've got two that are shrunk, and it looks like side by side.
That's what that looks like. This is the Music Maker Soundtrack Edition box, and you can kind of see it's got a timeline.
And could you have 4 of them on the screen? Absolutely. You just have to have 4 tracks and then shrink all 4 and, you know, put them in the different corners. So yeah, you could do 4 as well. So that's the way that's done. So the final thing we need to do after we get our movie all made is to export it. So the way we export the movie is go up to the File menu here, go Export Movie, and then come down through here. You'll see there's a bunch of different formats. There's QuickTime, for example, or AVI. What I like to use is MPEG-4. So I'll show you MPEG-4. So I click that, go into MPEG-4, and you can select the format you want right here. And I usually use 720p, HDTV, 720p. Now if you don't see it in the list, I believe you can display all by clicking here, pull it down. Now we've got them all. So there's HDTV 720p. That's only 25 frames a second. I'd like to have more than that. I'd like to have 29.97. So if I don't see one exactly right, I'll just go with this one that's 1080p. It's got the right frame rate. And then I can just customize it right here to make it 720p. And then we've got it the way we want it right there. Also, while you're exporting, you may want to click on the Advanced tab here and check Hardware Acceleration. This can speed up the process, may make it twice as fast on some computers if you turn on the hardware acceleration. Also, you might want to make note of my settings here that I'm using for MPEG-4. If you're going to use MPEG-4, this is how I've got it set up. And it's a lot like you would find in the help section. If you just go in the help section, you can click that help button that I just clicked down here, and you can see right here the settings they have in the example. And my settings are a lot like that example in the help, except I've got a 4 here instead of their recommended 3.1. I've got a 4, and I think I've got you can just make these the same. I've got 25 and 30, but I usually like to make them 6 and 8,000 right here, just like they had it. So if I put 6 and 8,000 in there, and the 4 is fine, balanced is good and all that, and then just click OK. And if you want to save that, you can click this little thing here, and this just saves this format. And I'll say Export Preset, and I've already got one here that I made earlier, but I'll just call this for the tutorial, or let's just call it Toot to be short. There we go, and I'll just save that. Now I've got Toot. Next time I come in here, if it's not there, I can just go down and click Toot, and it'll bring up all my settings just the way I want them. And that's all I wanted to show you there under the Advanced tab, because it's kind of important. Right before you export, you may want to check this path right here, because this is where your movie is going to be going, and this is what your movie is going to be called. So if you want to change the name of the movie, you can change it right here. you can also change the path, the location it's going to. You can hit this folder button and pick a new location for your movie where you want to export it to. So that way you can find it after you're done exporting. Now I've got export selected range only. You may want to uncheck that. So I use it sometimes to export just one range. And then once you're done, you can click OK. And it says there's some empty space somewhere in my movie. You can jump to empty space if you want to, or just ignore it. It just means there's a little space between two of the video objects and they're not quite close together. So I'm just going to say ignore for now. And then it'll bring up the export dialog and start exporting. And when you're done, you'll have an MP4 file. And you see my computer is quite fast. I've got one it's an i7. It's got a lot of memory. It's got a fancy video card. So it's pretty much minute for minute. I mean, if the movie is 17 minutes long, it might export it in 17 minutes, something like that. You can make it faster by turning the hardware acceleration on. So let's just cancel that. If you did want to export a selected range, say you just wanted a section of the movie, say this section right here, place the marker where you want to start, hit the start range marker, and you can see it move in right there. Then put the cursor at the point you want to stop and hit the end range marker right here, and you'll have this range selected. Okay, now you can go back into File, Export Movie, and MP4, and I've already got my predefined format up. Check Export Selected Range, and then you can say OK. I'm going to overwrite the movie I just exported, so overwrite it, and it'll only select that range. And since it's a shorter range, of course, it's only going to take, what, 1 minute? So it'll only take 1 minute because I'm only doing that one small section. So that's how you do that, and that's how you work the range markers. Now, if you want the range markers to go back to the end of the movie, the ends, all you got to do is hit this double arrow, and it puts the range markers at both ends. So those range markers are important too, because if they are set in the wrong place, you could only get part of your movie exported. So watch those things, and they're handy, but they can cause trouble too. So watch your range markers where they're located, and you can set them like I showed you with these keys right here. Now that our movie is completed, we might want a thumbnail for YouTube. So let's put the marker where we might want our thumbnail, or where we might want it to be. Let's see, say we want a thumbnail that looks like this right here. We just place the marker at that point, and then we'll go back into Export Movie, but this time we'll export single frame as JPEG. And again, you can pay attention to your path and your name right here. And I like a 720p size JPEG. And that's about it. You just hit OK, and then hit continue, and you will have a JPEG saved for a thumbnail. Okay, so here is our movie that we just created here, and you can see a picture of it over here in the player. And this is the thumbnail we created, the JPEG right here, and you can see what that looks like. So now we need to upload these to YouTube. So let's go to YouTube, and once you're on your channel, click the upload button right here. Brings up the upload screen, and if you have the current browser, you should be able to drag and drop the movie right into this window right here. And then it starts uploading. And then down the bottom here, there's a place to add a custom thumbnail. Now this isn't drag and drop, so what you have to do is click custom thumbnail, and then find it on your computer. In my case, it's on the desktop. Okay, once you get to your thumbnail, just select it like this and then click open, and it'll upload the thumbnail. So that's pretty much it. There's the thumbnail appearing and the movie's still processing here. And then when it's done, you can go ahead and fill in the rest of the information, like the title here, description, tags, and if you have a channel where it's where you can monetize it, you can click this button and then check monetize. So that's pretty much it. Now when you go to actually publish it, you can add a little message here to send out to all your subscribers that you have a new video. Just type something in there. Make sure this is on public right here, and then click the publish button. I realize this tutorial has been kind of long. I think it's been an hour and 15 minutes, but I wanted to get everything in it that I thought a beginner could use to make a complete movie and then publish it to YouTube. So I hope I've accomplished that goal. If not, if I've left something out, you can always post a comment under the video. And please subscribe if you liked it. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the tube.
Here, play.